The History of North Korea, Part 2.
In 1866, an American-owned and armed boat attempted to open trade. After some miscommunication, the ship sailed upriver and became stranded near Pyongyang. Korean officials ordered the Americans to leave, and as a result, American crewmen killed 4 Korean inhabitants and kidnapped a military officer, and engaged in sporadic fighting that continued for 4 days. After 2 efforts to destroy the ship failed, she was finally set aflame by a Korean fire ship. This incident is still celebrated by the DPRK, or North Korea. In response to this incident, the United States confronted Korea militarily, killing 243 Koreans before withdrawing. This incident is known as Sinmayanjo in Korea. This ultimately forced the reclusive Korea to sign a trade treaty with Japan, and 5 years later, they signed a treaty with the US, ending centuries of isolationism. Japan wanted more influence in Korea. As stated earlier, China and Korea enjoyed a close relationship with each other. Japan later fought with China in the Sino-Japanese War that culminated into the Treaty of Shimonoseki. This treaty effectively ended all traditional relationships between Korea and China, ending China's influence over the area. In 1897, Joseon was renamed the Korean Empire. The imperial government aimed to become a strong and independent nation by implementing domestic reforms, strengthening military forces, developing commerce and industry, and surveying land ownership. Russian influence was also strong in the empire until Japan defeated Russia in the Russo-Japanese War. Korea effectively became a protectorate of Japan on November 17, 1905. In 1910, Japan effectively annexed Korea by the Japan-Korea Annexation Treaty. Korea was effectively controlled by Japan under a governor-general. Under Japanese rule, Japan set out to repress Korean traditions and culture. This led to a lot of Japanese uprisings and revolts, which ultimately led to the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1937. World War II came along shortly after, and Japan tried to exterminate Korea as a nation. This led to small resistance groups forming, known as Dongnipgun. They would later join forces with the Korean Liberation Army, and later Koreans would join the People's Liberation Army and the National Revolutionary Army. On August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered to the Allied forces to effectively end World War II, and also the Japanese rule over Korea. Soviet tanks entered from the north with no resistance, and the United States came from the south. The unconditional surrender of Japan combined with fundamental shifts in global politics and ideology led to the division of Korea into 2 occupation zones, North and South Korea. The division was only meant to be temporary, and the intention was to unify Korea with the influence from America, the Soviet Union, and the Republic of China combined. Hopes for a unified independent Korea quickly evaporated as the politics of the Cold War began to emerge. America did not want a communist government set up in Korea, and the Soviets did not want a democratic one. On December 12, 1948, the UN officially recognized 2 separate countries, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and the Republic of Korea, as 2 separate entities, effectively splitting the 2 nations on the 38th parallel line. On June 25, 1950, the Korean War broke out when the North Koreans breached the 38th parallel line to invade the South, ending any hope of peaceful reunification. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, headed by the former guerrilla leader Kim Il-sung, failed to reunify Korea under their control, and the United States-led side failed to conquer North Korea as well, maintaining the status quo. Due to Soviet influence, North Korea established a communist government with a hereditary succession of leadership with ties to China and the Soviet Union. Kim Il-sung became the first supreme leader until his death in 1994, after which his son Kim Jong-il took power. Kim Jong-il's son, Kim Jong-un, is the current leader, taking power after his father's death in 2011. After the Soviet Union's dissolution in 1991, the North Korean economy went on a path of decline. Now the country is heavily reliant on international food aid and trade with China. And to top all this off, North Korea is now developing nuclear missiles. What's going to happen? What's the future of North Korea? Is there going to be a World War III? No one really knows what's for sure going to happen, but it seems like World War III is right around the corner. Okay, bye!